A single fiery image of a plane crash on the news can feel more significant than a lifetime of safe flights. This isn't a failure of logic, it's a feature of memory. Our minds use a shortcut called the availability heuristic, where we judge the likelihood of an event by how easily we can recall an example. Because media coverage of an aviation disaster is intense, global, and visually dramatic, that single vivid memory becomes hyper-available, making the event feel far more common than it is. We see the wreckage, but we don't see the 100,000 other flights that landed safely that same day. The mundane safety is invisible, while the spectacular failure is unforgettable. Your hands are on the steering wheel. You decide when to brake, when to accelerate, when to change lanes. This feeling of agency is powerful. In a 1975 study by psychologist Ellen Langer, participants who chose their own lottery ticket number refused to sell it for less than 4 times the price of what participants who were randomly assigned a number would sell theirs for. The odds were identical, but the simple act of choosing created a profound illusion of control. Driving is a constant series of choices, reinforcing this illusion. We are the pilots of our own small vehicle, which feels inherently safer than being a passenger, a piece of human cargo with our fate in someone else's hands, 30,000 feet in the air. Our brains process different types of risk in completely different ways. Consider the difference between a shark attack and heart disease from a poor diet. One is a dread risk, catastrophic, involuntary, uncontrollable, and highly publicized. The other is a chronic risk, familiar, voluntary, and happens one person at a time over decades. A plane crash is a perfect storm of dread risk. It involves a total loss of control, the primal fear of falling, and the potential for a large number of fatalities in a single terrifying event. A car accident, by contrast, is a chronic risk of modern life. It's so common that it becomes background noise, a statistical probability we accept every time we merge onto the highway. The statistical odds of dying in a plane crash are roughly 1 in 11 million. The odds of dying in a car crash are closer to 1 in 5,000. Why does the astronomically smaller number feel scarier? Because our brains are terrible at intuitively understanding large numbers. We can picture 1 person, 10 people, maybe even 100 people. But the difference between 1 in 5,000 and 1 in 11 million is cognitively meaningless without effortful analysis. Visualizing 1 person out of a small town is possible. Visualizing 1 person out of the entire population of New York City is an abstract data point, not an intuitive feeling. The emotional part of our brain simply hears, "it could happen," and fixates on the dreadful outcome, not the statistical noise. This difficulty with scale leads to a phenomenon called psychic numbing. Research by Paul Slovic shows that our compassion does not scale with the number of victims. We feel strongly for a single identifiable person in peril. But our emotional response to a story of 100 people is not 100 times stronger. In fact, it can often be weaker. Large numbers become statistics, and statistics are processed by the analytical, colder part of our brain. A plane crash, when reported, often focuses on the individual stories of the victims, their faces, and their families. Car crash deaths are reported as a daily total, a number on a spreadsheet. This makes the singular plane crash victim more emotionally resonant than the thousands of anonymous drivers. The experience inside the 2 vehicles is fundamentally different. In a car, you are constantly engaged in micro-actions, checking mirrors, tapping the brakes, adjusting speed. These hundreds of small actions create a continuous feedback loop of control. You are an active participant, constantly working to ensure your own safety. On an airplane, you are perfectly passive. You relinquish all control to a pilot you've never met and a complex system you don't understand. This passivity is fine when things are normal, but it amplifies fear when turbulence hits. The feeling of being helpless, of being unable to do anything at all to influence the outcome, is a powerful psychological multiplier for anxiety. Ultimately, our fear is the result of an evolutionary mismatch. Our brains evolved in an environment where sudden, loud, catastrophic events like a predator attack or a fall from a cliff were the primary threats. Our threat detection system is finely tuned for these immediate, sensory-rich dangers. It is not, however, designed to process the slow, cumulative, statistical dangers of the modern world. A plane crash, with its loud noises, falling sensations, and catastrophic finality, is a perfect trigger for this ancient fear circuitry. The daily commute, despite being statistically far more lethal, is too mundane and repetitive to set off the same internal alarms. We fear the modern equivalent of the saber-toothed tiger, even when the real danger is the herd of 2-ton metal boxes we willingly join every morning.
Monotony has grown fast. Nearly 2,700 people have watched in the last few weeks, yet less than 0.03% are subscribed. It would mean a lot if you joined by hitting subscribe. And again, thanks for watching.